today. So we'll give you, I want you to be sure and get your own promotion in. So keep an eye on the clock there if you would, to save yourself some time. I want you to have time to promote yourself and what you've got going on, because I know you just got so much stuff going on. We may have you on the show just to talk about what you're doing. But right now, we're here to learn what it takes to make it in music today. What do you got for us, Z?
Well, first of all, it was super cool to hear my friends, the Old Main, being playing on your radio show. I love that Upstate New York is starting to get some well-deserved attention in the music scene, and there's some great bands out there doing some great things. So hats off to you for spinning it and showing the support that you've been showing. As far as making it in the industry, first and foremost, you got to do it because you absolutely love it. If you think you're going to go into it thinking you're going to get rich, then, my friend, you better get out of this industry right now, because ain't nobody getting rich until you make it to the top. And then when you make it to the top, they're going to knock you down as quick as you got there. So first and foremost, make sure you have fun, right? First, that's the most important thing, is having fun and going out there and doing your thing. And also, it's very important to communicate with the other bandmates. If this is a band and you're out there doing it, it's very important to have that relationship with the other ones. Because think about it, you're going to be on the road with these individuals for so long that you need to be able to get along with everybody you're traveling with. It's very, very important to have that communication and have that relationship with the other bandmates. So I always look into that. And as far as, like, getting out there and getting your music out there, of course, using social media is the way to go, and a lot of videos and stuff like that. But you have to go out there and do the work. And I think it's important for each member of the band to take on their own duties. Like, somebody takes over the social media, another person takes over the booking, another person takes care of the promotion side of things. The other one could be a music director. I mean, there's just many different jobs that you could take on in being a band, that's for sure. So it's very important to share the projects, share. Not one person should be doing all the work, that's for sure.
That's an interesting point, if I can interrupt for just a second. That's one point that I don't think we've had touched on here before, and I think it's a very good one, the fact of planning the sharing of duties and jobs on the within the group, and having different people who are specifically assigned, if you will, to handle promotion, internet, etc. Good point.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And then you got to put the work in, too. I mean, there's going to be some days where there's 4 people in the crowd. There's going to be some days when there's 400 people in the crowd. So it's playing to the crowd, because you never know who's in that crowd. If there's 4 people in the crowd, you never know who's going to be in that crowd. So you have to play in front of those 4 people like there's 4,000 people in that room. And you need to stay consistent with that as well, in my opinion.
That's a fact. Some very good points there. It's a hassle, and we've heard so many times from so many people in the industry. The main theme that you had, which was right off the top, if you're not in it for the fun of it, go get yourself a real job, because you're not going to make it. The ones that make it and the ones who last, and we've heard this from, Joe Bonzo with the Oak Ridge Boys, Tommy James. We've heard it from everybody that we've talked about this with. If you're not in it for the enjoyment of what you do, then you're not going to make it. The people who make it in this business are the ones who love what they're doing. And I go back to Joe and the Oaks frequently on this, because I've gotten to know them, and I've gotten to see what they do so many times. You had the privilege of being up close and personal with them recently when they were in Utica, and I think you will agree with me. They genuinely enjoy what they're doing. They get up on the stage, and you can tell immediately they love what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's always the older bands that have been around for so long that stand the test of time, and when they reach a certain age, you could tell that they're there for their enjoyment, and they're there for their fun, and to maybe even relive their youth a little bit. And it definitely comes across on the stage. I do a lot of production work with the New York State Fair, as well as all the work that I do with the Stanley Theater, and having a lot of these old-timer bands up on stage, they're just so happy to be there. And it's so cool to see that they still enjoy what they're doing, they still love what they're doing, and they're out there entertaining at a high level.
Absolutely. They enjoy what they're doing. They enjoy the crowds. They feed off the crowds. And it's a bad time for this analogy, but it is like a communicable disease. You get up there, the crowd turns you on, you turn the crowd on, and the roof comes off the place. And your point is well taken. The old-timers, the guys that have been around successful for many, many years, they know, they've learned their lesson, and they're up there to give you a good time, and that's the best time they can have, to see you out there enjoying what they're doing. John Bon Jovial, I know you want to jump in here, so go for it.
Well, yeah, hey, Z, great to have you back again, man. It's really nice to have you on the show. I'm listening to this conversation, and, when I was a kid, those many years ago, I found it unfathomable that somebody might refer to me or my generation as old-timers. But I guess you got to face reality. But getting into, back directly to what you just touched on, because I was going to ask you about this, what your thoughts were on it, although I know you've already espoused some of them. You take a look at the way touring and the formation of bands happened, particularly in the mid to late 60s. There was this titanic change in the way things are done. Bands like the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver Messenger Service, they didn't get into it because they thought that they were going to make a whole ton of money. They got into it because they just loved doing it. And as it turned out, the general populace kind of loved what they were doing, and that really makes all the difference in the world. And I think that this kind of application of love can apply today to what today's musicians are trying to do, if they love what they're doing, and if they're not into if they're not in it for the money. Then maybe the money will follow them. That's not going to happen to everybody, but some of them will.
And it sure won't if you don't enjoy it.
Right, exactly. It's very rare that they break right off the bat like that. I mean, you mentioned the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane and all those bands. All those bands had an organic grassroots style of growth, and just did it through touring, through merchandise, through ticket sales, and not really necessarily through albums or charting on the billboards. It was all through touring.
Oh, there was no charting on the billboard back then. I mean, what they did was not mass appeal. I can remember in 1967 and 68 hanging out on Boston Commons, and there were and the free concerts. The Grateful Dead came to town, and the Airplane came to town, and Cream did, and Hendrix. And this was before. I mean, they had some popularity, but not like they achieved 3 or 4 years later.
Heck no! You take the Dead. They're selling more records today than they ever did in their heyday.
Oh sure, yeah. Bob Weir has done a wonderful job of keeping that alive. No pun intended.
Yeah, Bob Weir is in tremendous shape right now. For 70-something years old, the guy is chiseled right now. He just keeps in tune with his body and the way he's working out all the time. He looks incredible. But the one thing I do want to say is, like, the Grateful Dead has definitely passed that on into the jam band community today, because a lot of the jam band community, and I'm really big on the jam band community, I'm on a lot of the genre communities, but the jam band community has always had this sense of growth amongst the band. It's always been a grassroots style, from the roots, do DIY, do it yourself type of thing. You hit the ground running, you promote, and you're also out there touring all the time. They're not doing it by selling albums or streaming albums. They're doing it by being on the road and selling merchandise. And that has really, the Grateful Dead has passed along that tradition onto all these other jam bands. And I think we're in like the 7th generation of jam bands now or whatever. And it's great to see what they create and how they've passed it along to today's generation.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct, and it's a great object lesson to the artists of today, whether it's a band or solo artist, whatever your gig is. Learn from these guys. Go back and get the history of these guys. Read their bios. Learn what they did, and delve into it. Feel what they did so that you know what they're saying. as Z has just said, the fact that they get into it on all levels. Each of them has a responsibility of their own, and basically they love what they're doing, and they continually look for ways to connect with the audience, because that's the key to the whole thing. If you connect with your audience, you've got everything waiting. All you have to do is utilize it. If you get the audience behind you, they're going to buy your product. They're going to come and see your show. They're going to buy your merch. And it's a grassroots growth thing. You're going to succeed if you can connect with the audience.
Yep,
Z, I want to thank you so much for coming by and sharing with us. It's always a pleasure, and you always have some good insight, often like today, touching upon things that we haven't heard regularly, and often the new artists don't really have a realization of, and that's good. Gets them thinking, and that's what it takes. You got to be constantly thinking. Want to give you a shot here before we have to go to tell us a little bit about what you've got going on, what you may have coming up, and what's going on in upstate New York.
Great, sure. Well, everything's on lockdown right now, so nothing's really going on in upstate New York.
Right.
But what I have going on is the Disruption Network, and you can find us online at disruptionnetwork.net, where we host 11 different podcasts on our network. There's 11 different shows. So, David, when you were calling in the other day, you were calling in on No Time for Nonsense, which is a totally different show from what my show is. So on the D, you can find a variety of subjects ranging from life coaching to we do a thing with the Chamber of Commerce. We have an Agent Paranormal show. We have a ton of sports, baseball, football, wrestling, music shows. We have a variety for anybody. So if you hop over to disruptionnetwork.net, you can check out all our content. I go live daily on EC Radio, 3 o'clock Eastern time. You can find us on all the social media platforms and as well as all the podcast platforms as well. So you can find me live every day at 3 o'clock, or you can listen to at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or go to disruptionnetwork.net and save you some time. But, David, you've been a great friend for so long, for so many years. I appreciate all the support you've given to our local music community and my community as well. It's been great. It's been a great friendship, and definitely need to come back on EC Radio one of these times.
I'm always ready, always here for you. Give me a shout. I'll be there whenever you want. My only regret is that I can't make it back to my home stomping grounds a little more often so we could get together. We had a lot of fun at the Utica Music Festival that time. That was a real kick, and working with you and also your buddy Joe, another great guy. Some
Absolutely.
Good people, and you miss the home side every now and then. Z, thank you again so much. Tell us in about the 30 seconds that we have left a little bit about this group that you tell me is kicking it in upstate New York right now, Annie and the Water.
Annie and the Water are great friends of mine. You're not going to find a more kinder group. When I talk about personality-wise, they're such great boys, and they're doing it at such a high level, and they're doing it because they love it. We talked about earlier, longevity might be the key of the whole jam band thing. This is a band that's been together for 12 years, and watching them grow has been amazing. It's like watching a teenager grow up. And they're killing it right now. They're out on the road. They just got done wrapping up a whole tour with Haley Jane doing the Haley in the Water, which is a Fleetwood Mac Rumors tribute. And we were lucky to have them for our Disruption Network anniversary party back in February, and it was off the charts. And if you get a chance to check out Haley in the Water, them doing the recreation of Rumors from Fleetwood Mac, go out there and do it. Check it out. Support your live music, people, because we desperately need to be entertained at this time of crisis. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and these groups definitely need your support. So if you find an artist that you like what they do, support them. Get out and see them, listen to them, talk them up, do whatever you can. Z, thank you again so much. We'll look forward to getting together again real soon. Here's Sativa by Annie in the Water.